Okay, let's get into this. Today is Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026. And if you're listening to this right now, you are effectively standing on a cliff edge.
A metaphorical cliff edge, let's hope. Let's not scare anyone right off the bat.
Fair, a metaphorical cliff. But we are looking at a deep dive that's, well, it's tailored specifically for tomorrow, February 4th. And, usually we take a huge stack of articles and research on some broad topic like
AI or supply chain, something like that.
right, and we break it down. But today, the topic is you, or maybe the potential version of you that wakes up tomorrow morning.
It's a very unique one for sure. We're working with a source dossier that's titled The Grounded Rebel, Merging Vision with Action.
Yeah.
And it's this really interesting blend of behavioral psychology, history.
And what the source calls cosmic forecasting.
Yes.
Which, I gotta be honest, sounds a little out there.
It does. I get it. But the premise is actually very grounded. It treats tomorrow not just as another day on the calendar, but as a real threshold. The whole goal here is to explore how sharing a, quote, starting line with some of history's most disruptive people can actually hack your motivation.
Okay.
And then we're going to look at the specific energy of February 4, 2026 to give you a game plan.
So the mission is, how do we take that vision in our heads
Yeah.
and actually make it happen? But before we get to strategy or forecasting, we have to talk about this idea of the birthday twin. Because the source material leans so heavily on this idea that knowing who else was born on your day matters.
Right. And immediately, your skepticism radar should be pinging.
Oh, it is. It is. I mean, it's cool trivia, right? To know you share a birthday with a celebrity. But does it actually change anything?
Well, surprisingly, yeah. And not because of magic or stars aligning, but because of psychology. There's a concept called implicit egotism.
Implicit egotism. That sounds like a very polite way of saying being full of yourself.
It totally sounds that way. But it's actually more of a survival mechanism. The brain is just constantly looking for safe patterns, And the safest pattern it knows is
Itself.
itself, exactly. We are unconsciously wired to gravitate toward things that remind us of us.
Okay, give me an example.
So there are actual studies on this thing called the name letter effect. The data shows that people named Dennis are disproportionately likely to become dentists.
No.
Yes. People named Louise are statistically more likely to move to Louisiana.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me people are picking their careers or where they live based on the first letter of their name? That seems insane.
It does seem insane, but the brain loves a shortcut. It loves familiarity. So if a single letter can influence a life choice, just imagine the power of a birthday twin. This is a date that's been part of your identity since you were born. When you see someone else who shares that specific entry point into history achieve something massive, your brain stops seeing it as impossible greatness and starts seeing it as plausible reality.
So it's a blueprint.
It is, yeah. It humanizes the hero. It's no longer that genius over there. It's that person who started on my timeline.
I guess it makes a lot of sense. It's
No.
like cosmic permission.
Cosmic permission is a perfect way to put it.
In a world this chaotic, finding someone who shares your starting line just makes you feel like you belong in the success category.
It really does. And the source dives into another layer of this, which I found really comforting. It's called the age stage barrier.
Oh, I like this part. Because usually comparing yourself to famous people is just a recipe for depression.
Right. If you just look at the highlight reel, you're going to feel inadequate. But the twin concept, it cuts both ways. First, you have the milestone marker. So if your birthday twin launched a billion-dollar company at 25, and you're turning 25.
That's the kick in the pants you need.
It's productive anxiety. But then there's the flip side, contextual success. What if your twin didn't get their big break until they were 50?
That's the late bloomer permission slip.
Precisely. If you see that someone born on your day didn't peak until their 5th decade, it just rewrites that whole narrative that you're behind.
It proves that greatness doesn't have a single season.
Not at all.
Okay, so the mechanism is implicit egotism.
Yeah.
We trust the twins, so. Let's meet the family, the February 4th cohort.
And I have to say, this list is all over the place. We've got civil rights icons, rock stars, guys looking at space.
It feels random, doesn't it? But then you look closer
Uh-huh.
and you see the thread. Let's start with the pioneers.
Leading off with Rosa Parks, born in 1913.
The mother of the freedom movement. And we all know the story of the bus, of course. But think about the psychology of the twin here. If you're someone who struggles with confrontation, or maybe you feel like you're too quiet to make a difference, Rosa Parks is your blueprint. She
Yeah.
wasn't loud, she wasn't aggressive, she was just immovable.
That quiet, introverted strength.
Exactly. She represents the power of simply standing your ground. And then we pivot to someone who was looking way, way out there. Clyde Tombaugh, born 1906. He's the guy who discovered Pluto.
Now, this is a story I just love because people think discovery is this, eureka moment where you trip over a gold nugget.
Right.
For Tombaugh, it was excruciating.
How so?
He used a device called a blink comparator. Basically, he had to take photos of the night sky, days apart, and then flip back and forth between them thousands of times,
Oh, man.
looking for one tiny dot that moved just a millimeter while all the other stars stayed still.
That sounds like actual torture.
He did this for 7,000 hours.
7,000 hours.
In a dark room, staring at glass plates. So if you're working on something right now that feels just monotonous, if you're coding in a basement or editing a book and you feel like no one sees your work, Tombaugh is the twin to focus on. He proves that the breakthrough is often buried under years of boring, invisible work.
That's actually really motivating.
Okay.
It reframes the boredom as part of the process.
And speaking of invisible foundations, we have Ken Thompson, born in 1943, co-creator of Unix.
Which, for the non-techies out there, is basically the plumbing of the entire internet.
If you were using a computer or a phone right now, you're standing on the foundation Ken Thompson built. So you've got a civil rights icon, an astronomer, and a computer scientist, all pioneers.
But then the list takes a hard left turn. We get to the creative rebels, and this is where I started laughing because Alice Cooper.
The godfather of shock rock, born 1948.
I mean, connecting Rosa Parks to Alice Cooper feels like a bit of a stretch.
On the surface, absolutely. One is a quiet activist. The other one is, cutting fake heads off on stage. But look at the underlying mechanic.
Yeah.
Neither of them waited for permission to be who they were. And for Cooper, the lesson is longevity.
It's true. The guy's been touring for 50 years.
He's a proof of reinvention. He shows you can be weird, you can go completely against the grain of what's acceptable, and you can build a career that outlasts all the critics.
Then you have Oscar de la Hoya, 1973, the Golden Boy.
10-time world champion in 6 different weight classes. I mean, this is the archetype of the champion mindset. But then also, consider Michael B. Jordan, born in 87.
Creed, Black Panther, yeah.
Right. He represents discipline. I mean, have you seen the guy's workout routine? But also transition. He moved from actor to director. He didn't just stay in front of the camera. He took control of the whole story.
There's definitely a theme of control here. Which brings us to the leaders. And this one is a bit of a technicality, but the source includes him, George Washington.
Not born on the 4th, no, but he was elected as the first president on February 4th, 1789, so the date itself carries that weight of first leadership.
And then, sticking with the heavy hitters, we have Jerome Powell, born in 1953.
The current chair.
Now, politics aside, and the source is very, very clear about this, we are not debating interest rates here.
No, and we shouldn't. But whether you agree with his policies or not, you have to respect the position. He holds arguably the most powerful economic seat on the entire planet.
So if we zoom out, we have Rosa Parks refusing to move, Clyde Tombaugh staring at the dark for 7,000 hours, Alice Cooper inventing shock rock, and the Fed chair. What's the common thread?
The thread is, they're all initiators. None of these people waited for the world to tell them it was okay to start. They defined the territory.
And speaking of defining territory, there's one more event twin. On your birthday, back in 2004.
Facebook launched.
Love it or hate it.
Love it or hate it, it rewrote the entire social fabric of humanity. It just reinforces that February 4th is a day where small actions like coding a website in a dorm room can snowball into global shifts.
Okay, so that's the blueprint. That's the history pushing you forward. But now let's pivot to the present. Today is February 3, 2026. Tomorrow is the big day. The source calls the forecast for tomorrow, February 4th, the practical breakthrough.
This is where we shift from history to cosmic forecasting.
And I can hear the eyes rolling for some of our more skeptical listeners. Forecasting? You mean like horoscopes?
I get it. I totally do. But even if you don't believe the planets are pulling your strings, you can think of astrology as a weather report for your psychology. It gives you vocabulary to understand the mood of the room.
Okay, I can buy that. So what's the weather report for tomorrow?
The big headline is Uranus stations direct.
Stations direct. Break that down for us.
So imagine your computer has been buffering for the last 5 months. Just that spinning wheel of death, that's Uranus retrograde. It's all internal chaos, overthinking, feeling stuck.
And tomorrow?
The buffering stops. The connection snaps back in. Uranus is the planet of lightning bolt insights. So the source suggests that problems you've been agonizing over since last fall